The next type of equipment that you're going to see is a pin pad. Pin pads look like this, and the pin pad has a cord that attaches it into the credit card terminal. Now, we talked about this in the last segment on terms. We talked about pin-based debit, but what this allows the merchant to do is they can take someone's card, swipe it through the terminal, and then they can select the debit option, and then this is going to pop up with the amount, and the customer's going to put in their PIN number, hit the green enter button, and they're going to be able to process PIN-based debit transactions. Now, one thing that's very important to understand about a PIN pad is that PIN pads are encrypted. And what that means is that the worst thing that could possibly happen, okay, is for someone to get PIN numbers. If you have somebody's PIN number for their debit card, then there isn't even a chargeback that you can file. So let me give you an example. If somebody steals your credit card and goes and uses it somewhere, then you can get that money back because you can say, hey, they stole my credit card. If somebody takes your debit card and they know your PIN number, you cannot file a chargeback because, in other words, the idea is, however it is that they got the PIN number, you were the one that gave it to them, and so they're not going to refund you any money spent. So because of that, we have to be very, very careful about using these PIN pads to make sure that they are encrypted, meaning that nobody could ever hack in and get PIN numbers. So because of that, the way that the PIN pad communicates with the terminal is encrypted, which means that at no point do you have all 4 digits in the same place. Now, here's the problem with that. The problem for a sales agent is that means that you can pretty much never reuse a PIN pad that someone already has. So in other words, if you went somewhere and they said, hey, I already have a credit card machine, I'd like you to reprogram it, that's fine. You can normally reprogram a credit card terminal to work with your processing company many times. You need to check with your technical support department to make sure, but many terminals can be supported by different processing companies. However, if they have a PIN pad, you cannot use the PIN pad that they already have. You're either going to have to swap them for a PIN pad, or you're going to have to take their PIN pad, ship it back into your credit card processing company, and actually have them re-encrypt it so that the encryption code in the PIN pad matches the encryption code that's in the credit card terminal. So that gets a little bit tricky. Now, there's also what's called an internal PIN pad. Now, you don't see these as much anymore, but some people still have a credit card machine where they have the internal PIN pad where when somebody wants to use debit, they actually pick up the whole credit card machine and turn it around and have the person put in their 4-digit PIN number on the credit card terminal. Obviously, that's not very convenient because they got to move the terminal around. It's plugged in and everything. Much easier to have a small PIN pad like this one where you have a cord in there that can be hooked up to it. Another type of equipment that we see is electronic check scanners. Check scanners. Now, the check scanner, there's a couple different kinds that you can get. Some of them are like the horseshoe where you put it in one side and it takes it all the way around. Some of them you just feed it in there and it comes up like at Walmart. You'll see those. Most credit card processing companies do offer a check scanner. It plugs into the credit card terminal. So they would go in, they would enter the amount of the transaction in a check processing software in the credit card terminal, and then that's going to prompt them to go ahead and scan the check. Now, what a check scanner does is a couple things. First of all, a check scanner takes a picture of the check. And they take that picture and the check processing company actually stores it on their server so that if the check comes back NSF, and they've guaranteed that check, like we talked about in the last couple videos, what they can do is they can then kind of basically sue that person and say, here's a copy of the check that you wrote. And so that way they have a much higher likelihood of getting the terminal because they have a picture of the check. And then the other thing that they do is they read those numbers on the bottom of the check to translate that into an electronic ACH transaction. So basically, once the business owner puts that check through the check scanner, they could actually just stamp void on it and hand it right back to the customer because they don't even need the actual physical check. It's now been converted into an electronic transaction. So that's kind of the main 3. You're going to see your credit card terminals, you're going to see your PIN pads, and then you're going to see your check readers. And those are the 3 main types of equipment that you're going to see in the field.